For those of you who are here, Ivan O'Neill is the co-founder and CEO of Madronus Wildfire Defense, which makes it simple for realtors and their clients to increase sales price, get good insurance, and close escrow in time. He is a certified wildfire mitigation specialist, prescribed fire practitioner, and board member of a nonprofit that builds wildfire risk reduction capacity in western Sonoma County. Ivan leads a team of 10 who serve customers across 14 states and have helped tens of thousands of customers protect their homes and businesses from wildfire. I am happy to introduce to you Ivan O'Neill.
Thank you, Ward. And Ward, I think for the audio.
Oh, I'll mute myself, Ivan.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for joining. It's great to be meeting with you this evening. Beautiful day that we had here, April 29th. And I live just over the valley or over the mountains, the Mayacamas in Santa Rosa. And thanks for that warm intro, Ward. So, the reason we're here is because we live in communities that have suffered a lot of destruction from wildfires. And unfortunately, in the 9 years since the Tubbs fire, first put this on the map in our communities, the science is clear. About 1 in 5 U.S. homes is at risk of being in a wildfire over the lifetime of a 30-year mortgage that would be entered into today. And when this translates into us trying to purchase or sell a home, there's a lot of good data out there from realtors that shows that we're really struggling right now in our area, rural settings, vacation second homes, as well as even close to downtowns and suburbs in helping our home buyers get out of escrow, close escrow, and about 1 in 6 realtors is losing sales right now due to insurance contingencies not being met. And we've also seen this show up in some home sales and home price data. So there was a research that paper that came out in June of 2023 that found that homes that were required to disclose wildfire risk sold on average for about 4.3% less than nearby homes that were not required to disclose. Some might look at this and say, well, that's the disclosure is what's causing the impact in lower sales price. I think that there's the rules or the regulations that require which homes have to disclose are doing a fairly good job of identifying what insurers know, and this is translating through higher insurance premiums into a slightly lower sales price. So we've got some real money on the line, and if we're somebody who's advising clients or we're thinking about selling a home, this is a smart thing to think about before you get into that process. The good news in all of this is that the science is also clear that we have a say in what happens. Mitigation actions can reduce losses by up to 75%, as we've seen time and time again, like in Lahaina here on the left, or also in the Pacific Palisades on the right. So, what does that science say, and what can we do to protect homes and businesses from wildfires, make sure that our home buyers can get insurance, and so that we can improve our sales price and close escrow fire faster? The Wildfire Prepared Home program is put on by a company called, or an entity called IBHS. That's the Institute for Business and Home Safety. It's a fantastic group of researchers who've studied these ways that homes are threatened by wildfires. One of our first advisors is the former chief scientist for wildfire, who retired from IBHS in 2018. So we're going to talk a little bit about this and how it can benefit home buyers and sellers in Napa County and their realtors. So there's a number of insurance companies and other entities that are working on this challenge. So you can see here a few of those are State Farm, Mercury, AAA in Northern California, Farmers Insurance, USAA, and there's a couple more that we're going to talk about. And of course, we're down here in the lower left, along with the Town of Paradise and a few others who are helping bring this to market. This program is a national standard, it's a performance-based standard. It's available in 14 states, recently expanded all the way out to Texas and Oklahoma, as well as Florida, and of course, the entire rest of the Western US. So this is not just a California thing. This is where insurers are seeing the science and are lining up behind this standard. So the important things to know about this is the only certification recognized by insurers. There's two different tiers. If we have an existing home, we only want to focus on the base tier. That's the essential level designed to mitigate embers and direct flame contact. If we're a home builder or maybe a property owner who's thinking about building a new home, definitely take a look at the plus level standard. That provides some extra protection against radiant heat, but it's really not cost effective for any existing home to try to retrofit to that standard. Unless you're going all the way down to studs, focus on the base essential level. Once you get the certification, it's valid for 3 years. It requires an annual vegetation review, and then there's a full reinspection on the third anniversary. And the key thing about this, compared to a lot of other things that are out there in the market from fire agencies and others, that this is transferable upon sale and enables home buyers to shop for coverage with the certificate. And there are more and more insurers now who are willing to write policies for properties that have this designation. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what's required for just the base level, and then we'll go into a little more detail about how you can get the wildfire prepared home designation, and then we'll have plenty of time for some Q&A. So the first thing is that we need a Class A fire resistance rated roof, the good news and good condition. And the good news here is that virtually all homes in California built since 1991 and all roofs that have been installed since 1991 are required to meet the roofs like that one on the right there, nice asphalt composition shingles. You can have clay tile, you can have metal roofs. There are several materials that comply. We don't want the roof on the left here. And if you have any sort of plastic panels or rubber roofs, those are also not going to be able to make it, unfortunately.
Hey, Ivan, are gutter guards required?
Not for the base level. Yeah, so for the base level, you only need metal gutters and they have to be clear of debris. Gutter guards, gutter covers are not required. I think that they would be very well recommended, and I could see some things evolving over time. The key thing with the gutter covers, we want them to be completely non-combustible, so metal. Costco sells great ones. You can find them on Amazon, very cost effective, and they have the benefit of you don't have to get up on a ladder and clean out your gutters, more importantly. Even if we do keep our gutters clean, the reason I think this is a good, worthwhile investment is that on red flag warnings, and these are the hot, dry, offshore wind events that, coincide with the biggest, most destructive wildfires. Even if we keep our gutters clean, a good 30, 40 mile an hour wind is going to blow lots of debris. Typically, these happen in the fall. And so we're going to have lots of dry material that could end up in our gutters being blown from nearby. So good idea. The other most important thing is our zone zero. So this is gotten a lot of press recently. The state's working on finalizing a rule. Unfortunately, even the most stringent of the four options that the state is considering does not align with what wildfire prepared home and the insurers care about. It is measuring from the base of walls or posts on porches and decks. We're going to measure out 5 feet, and we're looking for completely non-combustible. No combustible items stored there. We've got sometimes our Rubbermaid boxes or other, planters that are plastic, for example, stored items, wood furniture, and then no mulches, no wood mulches, I should say, no grass. We're looking for that rock or decomposed granite. Some people are putting in nice pavers. Concrete, of course, works.
I don't mean to interrupt you repeatedly, Ivan, but you're making me ask questions. So, if you have flowers or ferns or whatever, some greenery planted around your house, that's considered combustible, even if it's so green it wouldn't burn?
So that's a great question. Sorry, if you want to go mute again. Thank you. That's a great question, and it's one we get asked a lot. Even succulents can burn. Water-loving species can burn. And the other thing that plants do is they always are dropping leaves and needles and twigs and stems, and so they become the source of really fine fuels. If I want to try to start a campfire, I don't just take a match and a two by four. I have to build the kindling. And these plants right up next to the home act as kindling. Now, one thing you are allowed to do is to have plants in non-combustible planters, like we're showing here in the upper image, and they have to be non-combustible. So we're talking ceramic, sometimes metal. I think you can do some lightweight concrete, fiberglass could work. And the key thing here is they can't be more than 3 feet tall by 3 feet wide. We need them to be able to be moved. We need you to be able to move them when there's an evacuation, when there's a red flag warning. We're just going to move them out into the lawn so that they're not a threat. And I'll show you also in a moment an image about why it's so important that we have this zone zero and what happens during wildfires within the first 5 feet of homes. So out 5 feet and then up to the sky. So no overhanging trees, branches, even tree trunks within the first 5 feet of the home. The next most important thing, we're talking about vent screens. And I think many of us can see the value here. Embers that are flying around, blowing around, anything that catches on fire that might be underneath our eaves. If we have a traditional home, most likely it has a ventilated attic and potentially a crawl space under the house. We're looking for at least 1/8 inch metal mesh, like you see here on the right. Over here on the left, that's at least 1/4 inch, and that's typically what homes were required to have before 2008 in a lot of areas. And the good news here that I should have said at the top, if you built a home in an area that was required to follow the WUI code, so that's any area that CAL FIRE had jurisdiction over and had a moderate, high, or very high fire hazard severity, you were required to build that home to this standard. You've pretty much done 90% of this in most cases. So we're really focused here on the retrofit and existing home. We're also looking for 6 inches of non-combustible siding clearance. And by that, we mean vertically, we're going to measure from the ground or a deck up 6 inches, and it needs to be non-combustible. So over here on the left, you see a concrete stem wall supporting the base of a wall before the wood siding starts. We have at least 6 inches. Over here on the right, we went back over this beautiful home above the deck. We had wood panel siding, and we just trimmed the little vertical slats and installed hardy fiber cement board. And that was how we were able to get the 6 inches of non-combustible clearance. You're not required to do the small trim pieces that are around doors and sometimes other features like this, but it is a vulnerability. And if you're able to, it would be a good idea. You're not required to, cover or replace anything around a doorway, uh, door jams, any of that. It would be, really difficult to do. Next up, many of us have decks that we enjoy, and they can be a good way to increase the property value, curb appeal, provide a lot of enjoyment. If it's less than 4 feet, I'm just going to come out as anti-deck. I'm the anti-deck guy, especially if it's towards the end of its useful life. You're thinking about maybe replacing it. Consider doing hardscape patio with some steps. I know it's not completely level as you're walking out the back door or side door, but decks are allowed under wildfire prepared with some mitigation. but they are absolutely beautiful architectural wood piles right next to our home. They're a very large space that can catch a lot of embers, and they're very difficult to defend, and they push out and increase the amount of area around that has to have zone zero and other work done. So if you're able to use a non-combustible patio, it's a great way to reduce your attack surface. But if we want to keep a deck, it's great. We can do that. We want to screen any space where there's less than 4 feet from walking surface to the ground. And then any posts that are exposed, we need to make sure we're cladding the base of those 6 inches, as we saw in the siding clearance section. So 6 inches of non-combustible material that can be tile, wood, metal flashing, fiber cement, hardy board, whatever you want, just around the posts. And it's a good way to protect. We can also
So
make
make
sure
sure
that we
that
don't
we
have any combustible items on the deck. We're showing here some beautiful plants that are of the right size and shape and in non-combustible planters. I think Ward has a question.
Yeah, sorry, I do. Are you familiar with Ipe?
eBay.
eBay. Yeah, the wood,
Yeah.
yeah. Ipe. It's like as hard as concrete. They say it burns the same as concrete. As the insurance industry recognized it as a fire mitigation issue.
So we get asked this question a lot. It's a good one. And what turns out, so there is some benefit, but there is no credit from insurers at this time. So, this right here is Trex. So composite materials like Trex, AZEK, very popular decking, Ipe and hardwoods. They do offer some benefit in the sense that they are less likely to be ignited by embers. It takes more, but they are absolutely combustible, and so they are a risk factor. The thicker deck boards, those are going to be our redwood, sometimes pine, usually redwood in our area. Those are softwoods, and so that's the difference in their performance under, exposures to wildfires. The denser the material, the more heat energy it takes over a longer exposure for that to ignite. If it's a softer wood, it's less dense, it's thicker, and so it's easier for the combustible gases to be ignited. And the way that fires attack decks, between the deck boards on the walking surface, we have our joists supporting the deck underneath. The embers and debris land on the joists between the deck boards. They then smolder and then they ignite, and then they'll just follow the gap in the deck boards burning underneath, and they'll pop up wherever joist is, and it'll just keep going right toward the house, or towards the side, depending on the orientation of the deck boards. So these are the exposures that firefighters can't even see, and they'll start to lose homes like hours after the flames come through, because there's just these smoldering, creeping ignitions through the wood mulches on decks, etc. And so it's just it's a big vulnerability. All right. The good news, if anybody's looked at Wildfire Prepared previously, the rules have gotten easier. It costs less money now than it used to. And so this is, hold on here. Did I not? I thought I pulled in some other slides, but disregard this right here. So, but looking here in the foreground of this image, you can see this beautiful oak tree. It's been limbed up. This is what all of us I know are familiar with, at least 6 feet off the ground till we get to small trees and twigs and foliage, excuse me. If it's a smaller tree, less than 18 feet tall, about 1/3 of the height off the ground. And we are now able to have understory shrubs and vegetation as long as it's less than 2 feet tall. And then as we move outward, we no longer have to have separation between trees. Previously, Wildfire Prepared required at least 10 feet of separation, but we do need to prune it back from chimney openings. That's something that's been part of the state rules for a very long time. As we move outward from the trees, we're looking at, groups of plantings, shrubs on the landscape. We can put them together into an island as long as it's no more than 10 feet tip to tip. You can also now have hedges that, as long as they're more than 10 feet from structures, you can have continuous canopy. And then between groups of shrubs or individual shrubs, we're looking for separation at least 2 times the height of the tallest shrub or 10 feet, whichever is less. So we're able to have beautiful landscaping and still be fire safe. Also, as we move beyond the zone zero, so that's from 5 to 30 feet or the property line, we're just going to make sure that we're maintaining our grasses, moving wood piles more than 30 feet. If you have them out in the wintertime, sometimes it can be a good idea to put them in the garage during summer and peak fire season. Sheds are a big one. So we want to make sure that the sheds, if they're within 30 feet of structures, that they're at least 10 feet from the house and any attached deck or other sheds. And they have to meet the same level of hardening and as the primary home, including a zone zero. They don't have to have their own zone one, but they have to have their own zone zero, 5 feet non-combustible. Hot tubs, also, as long as they're more than 10 feet from homes and structures, they can be on decks, but underneath them, we have some requirements. It can be a little difficult there, but it is possible. And hot tubs now have to have their own zone zero, so 5 feet non-combustible. This really came out of the research and the damage that was seen in the Palisades and the Eaton fires, where hot tubs were absolutely a major threat to a lot of structures. And there were a number of cases where firefighters were able to put out the fire, and the hot tub was imminently about to expose the home nearby to a critical damage. Finally, propane tanks. This has also gotten easier than earlier versions of Wildfire Prepared. So it's aligned with the CAL FIRE rules for the state, non-combustible within 10 feet and an additional 10 feet of nice maintenance. You can have some mature trees as long as the branches are limbed up. All right. So I know a lot of us are have our eye, we're thinking about selling homes. Also, what about insurance and what's happening right now? So we keep our pulse on the market, talk to a lot of agents and brokers, as well as work with a number of insurance companies. And State Farm, the market is getting easier. That's the good news here. We are seeing insurers start to write new policies. They are keeping a pretty strict set of requirements in many cases, and it's not quite back to the easy or soft market as the industry likes to call it. But even just yesterday, Travelers Insurance announced that they're getting ready to write policies again, and I think we'll start to see State Farm and Allstate, now that some of the rate increases are getting approved, start to write again. State Farm got their rate increase. Have not heard yet that they've sort of lifted that, but I know that I read the tea leaves. I think they're getting ready. Farmers has continued to write new policies, but they do have pretty strict requirements. In a lot of cases, homes have to be, newer. They require water shutoff valves and sort of the 4-point inspection, electric panels, roofs, and a few other things. AAA, CSAA, they're really leaning in. They're sticking by their members. They've continued to write during this whole crisis. They're offering one of the best discounts out there for folks who have done mitigation work, up to 12.5%, with a 3-year renewal commitment if you get the wildfire prepared home designation. What they mean by that is, if you get the wildfire prepared home designation, you'll be eligible for renewal regardless of the home's wildfire risk score for at least 3 years, as long as you maintain that. Standard underwriting guidelines apply, so make sure you're paying your premiums, don't commit fraud, that kind of stuff. And in some cases, during renewal, they are actually requiring that some homeowners get the wildfire prepared home base level, and are typically offering about 75 days notice prior. Allstate has their own custom standard. As far as I know, they're still not writing new policies just yet. They're choosing to go with the expensive stuffs like enclosing eaves, non-combustible decking, joists. So it can be a real challenge if you get a letter from Allstate saying, "Hey, we want you to do stuff." Mercury, also big leader alongside AAA and CIG. They're writing new policies with Wildfire Prepared Home. They're offering pretty significant discounts off of the part of the premium that covers the wildfire risk. And that's based on what you've done along with separation. And CIG, Capital Insurance Group, they're a little bit smaller. They're regional. They're California, Oregon, Washington, Nevada, Arizona. And so, they care about this because of where they operate. And they are now writing new policies with the Wildfire Prepared Home designation. They also cover ag and commercial. So if you got more than 5 acres, you can qualify for an agriculture policy. If you bought a home with a limited liability company or you have a business, you qualify for commercial policies. So definitely worth taking a look and finding an insurance agent. I think in our area, George Peterson is appointed with them. A couple others, Pacific Specialty, they're writing again. USAA is renewing policies regardless of wildfire risk. They recently got their rate filing approved, so I think we'll start to see some movement there and opening up capacity and writing more. And then the FAIR Plan. I know many of us this is the only option that we have. They just filed for a 36% rate increase, and they're also assessing all California homeowners policies for the excess losses in the LA fires. They also recently decreased the discount that they offer for mitigation measures. In particular, the Firewise community discount went from 10% down to 1.5%. So now, if you want the discount, you've got to do some work on your own property in order to get a discount on the FAIR Plan. All right, so how do I get wildfire prepared home? There's two options. You can do it yourself, and you can go to wildfireprepared.org, create an account. They'll ask you some questions. There are some free checklists and other things up there that can be great resources. But when you're ready to submit an application, you pay $125. Hope that you've done all the research and reading, do the work, find a pro, and then you can get the inspection. And if you pass, then great. But most people end up with a couple extra things, so they have to go back, do some more work, send in some more photos, and then they can get the designation. The other option is Madronus. So since July 2024, we are the full service option for the Wildfire Prepared Home program. And we've shown that people that have the support and work with us get the designation 5 times more often than those who try to do it themselves. And that's because we take a different approach. We're on your side. We start you up, set you up for success by offering several easy options to get an inspection done. So we scan, we then provide a plan, we do the work, and then we can verify it and get it submitted in quick order. So we have two inspection options for ourselves. We have a self-inspection option. We have apps in the Apple App Store and Google Play Store. It's super simple. It takes like 5 minutes. You're just going to walk around your home. There's no questions to fill out, no surveys. You just take some photos. It guides you through it, shows you some videos in the app if you've got questions, and then you upload. And it also works offline. So you can be outside when you're doing this and then come back inside and do the upload. We also have pro option. So we cover all of California just about, as well as several other states. And we can typically get a pro inspection scheduled for you within just a few business days. We'll come out, we'll take all of the information that you need. We then turn that into a beautiful report with a clear, actionable plan, personalized for your property, and shows you exactly what you would need to do to achieve your goals here. And we also offer some resources online if you want some pointers and tips on what to look for. And we also have services that are available to make sure that your project's going to look good, help you pick out materials. What options do you have? And then get estimates from vetted contractors. So over 180 vetted contractors in multiple states work on, plenty of high value homes as well as uh, residences and businesses. We make sure we go through and verify their licenses and that we offer a standardized contract so that you're protected and then support as any questions come up along the way. When you're done, whether you're working with us and a vetted contractor or you're doing it yourself, you can do the verification, and then that can be submitted when you're ready to Wildfire Prepared to get the designation. And that also unlocks some insurance options that you see here. So last marketing slide, I promise. The starter option here that you see is free. Anybody can download. We'll give you a free report. If you'd like a consultation, we're charging $149, and that gives you a video consultation with a specialist to go over your plan, ask any questions you have, and help you decide if this is something that's right for you. And then if you'd like the kind of full service pro option, easy button, that's $449. We'll give you a professional inspection with an appointment and a more comprehensive report along with the video consultation. And then if you want to do the wildfire prepared home designation through us, you can do the 125 with us or a priority inspection, and we offer a discount if you do the pro service. And you can visit our website, madronus.com, as you see there, or give us a ring anytime. So thank you for your time and interest, and we're on a mission to help you protect your home and business, make insurance boring again, make real estate the process buying easy and simple. And I look forward to your questions.
I have a question, Iva.
Go ahead, Mary Chris.
Is the application for designation as wildfire prepared
I'm bored.
available?
I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah.
Getting the echo again. Mary Chris, could you ask that again, please?
I said, is the designation for being wildfire prepared as a property available to all of the property or only for those properties that are in the fire hazard zones?
Good question. So it's available to any property that wants to do it in any of the 14 states. For homes, it covers duplexes, triplexes, quadplexes. It has to be every part of the building has to participate. You can't just do one unit of those, but you can do it. Also, manufactured homes that are on a permanent foundation are also eligible for wildfire prepared. We don't yet have a specific designation for commercial structures, but insurers already see and recognize that if you do the mitigation work, you pretty much protected it, and that's going to lead to better outcomes. So this is one way, especially for wildfire prepared. You know, the maps that the state comes up with for fire hazard are different than what insurers see as risk. Hazard and risk are actually different. It's subtle and complicated, but the state maps are one view. The insurers get paid or have much more writing on the outcome, and so they do a lot more in-depth analysis of where homes have risk.
Thank you.
Ivan, I have one other question for you, if you don't mind. You mentioned that Fair Plan is going to be assessing all California homeowners to help pay for the Palisades fire. Does that mean I'm going to see some sort of assessment on my bill from my carrier?
Yes. So if you are with an admitted insurer in California, the rules that were finalized just before the wildfire happened, and this is Eaton and Palisades, anytime the FAIR plan doesn't collect enough premiums to cover its losses and surpluses and reinsurance, then the insurers bear, I think, the first $1 billion of loss across personal and commercial lines. And then after that, they pass that on to every other policyholder, and they sort of spread it out across the state. I think it's, you know, It's tough to say. It's somewhere in like the $70 to $100 range for the average homeowner's policy.
Yeah, I thought that was all funded by insurance companies. That's why I'm kind of surprised it's going down to the homeowner level.
Yep.
All right, any other questions for Ivan before we let him go? You
I
got a
want to cover
message on
one
the
thing.
chat, Ivan. Thank you for your
Oh,
excellent presentation. Oh, there's your fair plan. Yeah, go ahead.
just I want to show something real quickly that I think drives home the question earlier about the reason why that zone zero, and no matter what kinds of plants we have, why it can be a real issue. So this is a photo from inside of a test chamber. This is like an aircraft hangar sized building that is the at the facility of the Institute for Business and Home Safety, the research lab. And to the right is a giant wall of fans. They can generate 135-mile-an-hour winds. This is only about a 20-mile-an-hour wind. And these big pipes are generating embers. And they have this life-size structure here on the left. And what I love about this long exposure is we can see where the embers collect and accumulate when they strike the building. So in the wind, they're flying and, they can fly quite a distance. Most of them are going to fly or land within about 100 feet, 30 feet from whatever's burning. But you can see how there's two big hot spots here. One is at the base of the wall, and they're collecting there, and then they're swirling outward, and they're kind of at that 5 foot level. And this is where the zone zero concept is coming from. Any thing that is there is going to collect those embers. And if it's combustible, if it's a plant, it will then start to ignite. It will dry out. All plants will burn, no matter what, their normal moisture content is. And so this is why we're seeing the industry be pretty firm on that zone zero. The other direction that these embers go is kind of up into the attic. So if we have a gable, a peak, and a lot of us have uh, gable vents, then that's a vulnerable spot. And then we do have some that keep going up and over and can expose roof vents and things like that. So I think this is helps bring home what insurers see when we have questions about why zone zero is important. All right. Well, I'll let everyone get on with their evenings. Thank you so much for the time.
Thank you, Ivan. And if you have a slide that shows your contact information, you might throw that up just as we sign off. People can have that, but it's what's the website anyway? Tell us the website.
Yeah. So it's madronus.com, madronus.com. And we'll just get back up here. Here you go. You can reach us at support@madronus.com or give us a ring 707 899-0800. You can check us out on the app stores. Search for Madronus Capture on either Google Play or Apple App Store. And I think what makes us different, one of the realtors said I should mention this, is we're not, somebody who's going to give you some professional judgment or, take you for a ride and do the work. We're going to be your advocate here. We're going to give you the science and make sure that you're not spending thousands of dollars doing something that the insurer is not going to recognize. When you're done working with us, we'll make sure that the work that you do gets recognized. And I think that's the key difference from just, hiring a tree service person or talking with somebody who says they claim to know what is required.
I've been really a wonderful presentation, really interesting. I think you guys are providing a great service that's very much needed right now, and I hope you have lots of success because I think you're going to help a lot of homeowners and a lot of realtors along the way. So thank you again for joining us. Really appreciate you being here and hope to have some contact with you in the future.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
All right.